Hi, Ken here. Just to let you know, we had some technical difficulties, and you'll see the screen go black at times, but there'll be audio. I've spent a lot of time trying to fix that and haven't been able to. So just please bear with us. It's most of it you'll see Soke and I talking, but every once in a while it's going to go black, and I don't know the reason why, and hopefully it doesn't happen again. Thank you for your patience and hope you enjoy the episode.
Good afternoon, everyone. Here we are again at East Meets West Martial Arts. I am Soke Bobby Briggs, along with
Hanshi Ken Herford.
I thought you forgot your title and name there for a second, brother.
Well, you know what?
Let's
That's
just
because
roll with it.
I
We're good.
got Briggs delayed syndrome from all those punches. You'll laugh at this. One time when I went,
Not yours. What you have might be BDS, but mine is HDS. It's basically both of them are the same thing.
yeah,
Either that or boot to the head syndrome.
syndrome. Yeah, I think I got that one. You'll laugh at this one. So the first time I ever went for a military board, I was an A1C, and it was at Beale Air Force Base, and I going for Airman of the Quarter, and I walked in and I'm in my blues, and I'm really nervous, and the first sergeant, I don't remember his name, but I can picture his face. And he's in there, and there's the board, and they're all sitting there, and I go to report, and I go Airman, and I have to look down my name tag for my name, Herford. And they're supposed to keep their composure on a board, right? Because I've been on them, you've been on them.
Yeah.
They all started laughing. They couldn't help it because I was so nervous. Yeah. And they told me to sit down, and then they apologized for laughing. Needless to say, I didn't win. I was so nervous, but I found that as a means I'm going to start conquering this if I ever get asked again,
Have you ever sat on the board?
Yeah. I sit on I can't remember how many, about 3 or 4. Yeah.
So have I. You see and hear some funny things on those boards.
Yeah.
And I've often wondered, did I look that stupid or did I sound that stupid whenever I went up for a board?
I'll be honest. The one thing that drove me up a wall, and I don't know what you say to them for this because you want them to be gung ho. But it's when you always ask, what would you like for your career? To be the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force. All of the airmen always said that one. And I'm like, I'd rather really know what your real goals are. Because not everybody's goals are to be Chief Master Sergeant.
Make it through this next enlistment.
Right. Get out
going to jail or hurting somebody.
Yeah. But if you want to be, a chief, or you want to be a LE superintendent, or you would like to, get into EST, something. Yeah. But everybody goes, because that's what they've been told. And I go, oh, geez, not this one. It's the same thing all the time. You just smile. Oh, great. Not understand. None of them distinguish themselves on that question, So, and anyways, but now, so I almost forgot my name again, but that's your fault. So,
yeah, we know. Yeah.
Hey,
so today's podcast, I know we tossed over some ideas. Which one did you come up with that we're going to talk about?
Well, this idea of being in the martial arts, having injuries, and working through the injuries and getting back in the martial arts after the injuries. I know both of you and I have had many surgeries over the years.
Longevity in the martial arts.
Pardon?
Longevity in the martial arts.
That's a good way of putting longevity in the martial arts. That's a great way of putting it. Yeah.
It sounds a lot better than getting old in the martial arts.
Yeah.
There's a political way of doing everything. Let's just go with longevity.
Longevity in the martial arts, right. Well, and because, we both have, and I've known other people who have. So I'll just start off with this. Most of my injuries that I've received in the martial arts actually fall under the military because I was also training to not only teach combatives in the military, but also, since I was a cop, defend myself and other people. I didn't always, you don't always want to have to go to a weapon. You can't always get a weapon in time. And if you can subdue the person. And so a lot of my training and time, and same with my weightlifting, I did all the exercises because I'm in the military and I got to be fit as a cop. If I'm a stability nerd, maybe I would just do it Tuesdays and Thursdays for an hour and a half and take karate and go, woohoo. But I wasn't an ability nerd. You and I both were in security forces, law enforcement. So we had to train to really stay alive. I mean, we both encountered some hairy stuff sometimes, and we would train and teach other people these things. And I remember teaching. A matter of fact, if you were a cop when I had my dojo, you didn't pay. You were for free, and then I also taught every quarter some sort of self-defense class at the bases I was at. And so a lot of my injuries come not during the classes, but prepping to teach those courses, if that makes any sense. Yeah. And some of the worst ones come from that, just trying to stay in shape because I was a cop. And I make that distinction here. I know I'm talking to John, but we know a lot of martial artists who were young people in their 20s and 30s who had beer guts like crazy. They didn't. They just walked around and taught, but they could afford to do that because they weren't cops.
Mm-hmm. They weren't. Well, what a lot of people also don't understand is, at least actually, I know but the Air Force, the Army, and the Marine Corps, all their military police are also, they're not only trained for military police type work, but they're also trained for combat
right
type work at the same time. The security forces and the Air Force is basically, the Air Force is infantry.
Right.
I mean, they do tons of field, even more so today than what they used to. But, back in my early days, both in the Army, I was with basically a combat unit, an RDF unit, Rapid Deployment Force, and with the Air Force also. So, a lot of people may not understand that, when you say, hey, I was a cop or I was an MP or whatever, something like that, it's not exactly like a city cop. Not saying that that's an easy job, because I also did that too.
Right. Yeah.
But you're talking about a lot of combat deployments.
Right.
Even though I have my combat deployments and the special operations careers that I was in, but also in my time as whenever I was with security forces.
Yeah. Well, And I know when I was at Edwards Air Force Base, for a year, I was the NCOIC of IMAs. They were the reservists who kind of picked their weekends and stuff. And I was in the training section. And so they'd come for their 2 weeks. Well, I had to teach them combatives, restraint techniques, even though many of them were cops, but they had to be recertified and all that.
Right.
And then they spent so that was 5 days. And then they spent another 5 days where I taught them air-based defense out in the desert warfare.
Yeah.
So I had to be in tip-top shape. And these guys are coming in all the time.
Yeah.
They're not like a regular guard or reserve unit that does everything together. They pick when they can come. So that's why they had me dedicated to them, because it's all year round. And then I'm teaching martial arts in the evenings. So I had to stay in tip-top shape. And I don't know about most, but I think most of my injuries, as far as, that have resulted now in surgeries and pain, come from that time period, that time period there. Because even when I wasn't doing that, I was still I was the fitness person for the squadron, and I was the one teaching the self-defense every quarter for the cops there. So, and it's funny because most of my injuries come from that. It doesn't come from when I competed. The only injury that I can remember I get from competing is one. I broke a rib in my left side, and that's been broken twice. One by you from a spinning back kick, and that was in the Philippines. That was after Mount Pinatubo, and we were sparring, and I couldn't breathe for about 2 days. And I finally went to the base doctor, and they took an X-ray and says, "Yeah, your ribs broke, and you got me with a spinning back kick." And then
payback for all those times you kicked me in the friggin' head.
Oh yeah, man, I tell you, and that's why and then I was leaving like in 8 weeks, so I wasn't able to come back and train anymore because it was broken, and I still got to work because we had a lot going on at that time, as we were closing that base down. And then the other time was against George. I can't remember his last name, but he was a Japanese fighter, American Japanese, in Hawaii, and that was my last bare knuckle full contact fight, and he busted my rib, the same one with a reverse punch of all things. And I thought, I'm too old. I was 35. He's like 22. He's doing this full time in training. I'm teaching and still being a cop. Well, so those, all the worst injuries that have resulted in shoulder, neck pain, back pain, have all come from my military work and training in the martial arts and weightlifting to be a good cop and to train other people. And that's the reason why I've got the connectedness for VA is because, you know, that's what took place. And when they say, hey, how'd you get injured? Well, I was weightlifting. Why were you weightlifting? Because I'm a cop and I got to be in shape. I got to be stronger. You know, I was doing this. Oh, well, why do you do that? Because I teach that in the squadron. You know, I teach cops how to defend themselves. And you know, you've had more than I have, but I've had 2 shoulder surgeries. I've had a bicep surgery, but that wasn't related to the military. But the 2 shoulder surgeries, you know, I got C5, C6 degeneration in my neck, and you know, a few other a left knee problem. And you'll laugh at this one. The left knee is I was training cops. This is in Hawaii, and one cop, someone who's coming up for his black belt, was Tom Mayo, and he was holding the shield, and I was showing them. The other cops were from Bellows. He was the only one from Hickam. And I was showing them how to throw a spinning back kick to the body or hip where you can stop somebody if you need to do that. And these were all seasoned martial artists, but showing them to. Well, after about the 4th time, Tender Tom moved with the shield. And it felt like my knee just went whoop like that. Well, it was a partial ACL tear. And I now have problems with it. It comes home to roost even more now with pain. But like you said, longevity, I believe, and I really do believe this, while I don't work out like I used to, I still try to exercise and stretch and work out. I believe my body's better if it's in motion than if it's still.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and keeping that longevity. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think, of course, you know, I went all through school playing football and various other sports, but football was my sport. I remember my senior year in high school that I got hospitalized because I took I was playing slot back on the offense, and they threw me a pass, quarterback threw a pass, and I had to jump to get it, and I was all stretched out like this, and I caught the pass, but at the same time that I caught it, cornerback hit me right in the lower back, and my feet was off the ground, obviously, because I'm jumped. So I laid in the hospital for 5 or 6 days. And the first 2 days, if I remember correctly, I was in traction when they used to, I don't know if they still do that. But that was really the only injury I ever had sports-wise. And the only injuries I really had martial arts-wise, and I've been doing this for like 57 years now, is I've had my right jaw broke twice. I've had my nose broke 4 times, but 3 of those 4 times was in martial arts. Both the times my right jaw was in martial arts. And here a couple of years ago, you know, I ruptured a hamstring whenever I decided after about 10 or 12 years of not competing, that I was going to go to a tournament and compete again, and ruptured my right hamstring. And those are, and then the dojo in Charlotte, I've had 4 shoulder surgeries, and one of the 4 shoulder surgeries came from martial arts because I was showing a takedown and I just ripped my shoulder completely out. But the rest of it, and I've had 22 surgeries, and the rest of the surgeries and all the other injuries that I've had has been from the military. And most of them has either been training to be deployed somewhere, or when I was deployed somewhere. You know, like I jammed up my back. I got disability from my back. I jammed up my back on my last tour in Iraq when I was deployed over there. And a few other injuries. I can't say what I was doing with them, and don't really want to talk about them because I'm not sure what is classified and what isn't. Obviously, I don't want to dig a hole for myself right now.
Yeah.
You know, in case the wrong person listens to this, but a few other injuries that I had when I was in the military over there. But to jump back on what you were saying, I had a couple injuries in high school sports, not very many injuries, a few broken toes and fingers to go along with, you know, my jaw and my nose and stuff like that, but not very many injuries when it comes right down. Compared to as many years I've been in martial arts, I've really not had that many injuries, martial arts injuries. Most of mine, like you said, were during my time in the military. I spent 24 years in the military. Most of my injuries is combat related in the military or training to go to combat in the military.
Yeah. And I can say this, most of my injuries in the military, some of them are martial art related, but that's because I'm training to teach cops, you know.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when I competed, I had my last fight, I had the broken rib. So of course I'm not going for VA on that. That had nothing to do with that one, even though I was in the military. And then my teeth, these two teeth are fake. I've had a couple other teeth, where they've had the military replace these crowns here because it was broken. Well, that was tournament stuff. I'm not going to hit the military. I mean, there's a difference between really trying to train to stay in shape to be a good cop and then saying, okay, I'm going to go fight in this tournament, the taxpayer doesn't need to pay for that dime because I decided I want to go get my teeth knocked out. But most of mine was just regular, trying to stay in shape in the military and teach and get prepared to teach and prepared to do things. And, your body just wears out. It just does.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was also a paratrooper in the military, jumped out of planes, helicopters, bailed out of planes. I've jammed my back up so many times. I mean, my back is just nothing right now. I mean, it's not, I think it's pretty strong to be how old I am and the injuries I've had to it. But, I mean, it's not as strong as what it could be if I hadn't had those injuries. And my left knee, during Iraqi freedom, I mean, my left knee, I've had total knee reconstructive surgery. And to this day, I can't bend that knee fully. I've had a fractured hip off of the same thing from different blasts and stuff like that. But
yeah. But it's funny you say that. My knee my left knee hurts all the time, but it wasn't reconstructed. I had that partial ACL tear from that time when I was training Tom and a few of the other.
I had one of those too.
Yeah.
And meniscus.
Yeah, and it was funny because I thought, well, it gets painful. So I had a VA appointment just last week, and I went down to it, and because I'm looking at like, okay, now I'm retired and I'm on TRICARE. I didn't go for my VA benefits while I could work. It was just a personal thing for me. Nope, I always said I was going to do it when I retired. And one time I did in 2013, about 7 years after I retired, I went for a couple things. But I told the lady, I said, no, my wife, actually it's my ex now, she's pushing me to do this. I really want to wait and claim it when I get ready to retire.
Right.
So I'm at 60%, but my knee is the one that they're looking at now. And well, it's funny because I stretch twice a day. I stretch in the morning and the evenings, and I have to. Otherwise, I'm in pain. So I got to stretch, and I sit in my massage cushion in the mornings for 15 minutes and the evenings 15 minutes, sometimes more. So I do things to keep my body going to be good.
Right.
But it also might have backtracked on me because it's painful. The knee always hurts, and I got to usually wear a sleeve when I do any type of thing like walking, martial arts. But he goes up there and he says, okay, they do their little measurements, how you're doing. And he goes, okay, I need you to lift your knee as best you can or as high as you can. So I lifted. I said, well, I'm going to lift it pretty high. I said, that's not the problem. The problem is the pain. It's always hurting, and it's unstable, not lifting it. He says, well, I need you to do it. So I lifted it up, and the doctor goes, oh, heck, man, you can really get it up there. And because I can't lie, I'm going to go ahead and do the best I can. Not this one.
Yeah.
Because he says, I don't know if I've ever seen an old man. He didn't say old man. He said, someone going for VA benefits who gets it this high. I said, well, I'm being honest. It hurts all the time and it buckles when I walk. Yeah. But I said, but I'm flexible. I can stretch it. And he goes, and I stretched that morning before I drove there. It's a 3-hour drive, but I stretched that morning. So I have to say this is funny. He goes, he's going to move my right leg and left leg. And I says, I can stop you now. You'll go all the way to my shoulder. And he goes, I will. I said, yeah. And that's not the problem. It's yeah. But he goes, really? I says, yeah, you just put it right down your records. Hamstring goes all the way to the shoulder. The hamstring is fine. Yeah. It's the knee.
Yeah. Well, I wish my hamstring was fine, but I mean, it's absolutely crazy, and a lot of people don't know this. My left leg is a half inch shorter than my right leg because of the injury I received my last combat tour.
Wow.
And they had to do total knee reconstructive surgery on it. And if I get really tired, you'll see me starting to limp. But I've learned how to, like, if I'm not tired, how to walk without a limp.
Yeah.
But they told me, they're like, you'll always have back pain, because, your left leg is a little shorter than your right leg now. And when I first got injured, they told me, they're like, you'll never be able to walk unassisted again. I was like, what does that mean? And they're like, well, you'll have to have a cane or, something like that, a walker or something along those lines that assists you in walking. And I'm like, oh no. And here I am on active duty at near the end of my career. And I was like, nope, when I get out in the military, it's going to be on my terms.
Yeah.
So I talked to my first sergeant at that time and had him talk to the commander because they were going to medically discharge me. And I was like, no, I don't want to be medically discharged. I want to go out on my terms, and my commander's like, okay, if you can pass, since the 820th SFG was, we were a full combat unit. And we had to take both the regular PT test as well as the airborne PT test, which is the SOF PT test, basically. And he said, if you can pass both your PT tests, then I'll buy you time or I'll let you stay in. But if you can't, then we got to discharge you. And I not only went through physical therapy and come out of physical therapy, being able to walk unassisted, but I told him when I was doing physical therapy, I said, I need to run. Because I knew I could do the push-ups and the sit-ups and the pull-ups. I said, I need to run. We need to get me back in running shape. And they're like, you'll never be able to do that. And I'm like, bullshit, I won't be able to do it. And I proved to everybody, and I did. I passed both the PT tests. And so, but he did have to buy me a few extra months to get ready for that stuff.
Yeah. We're so similar, brother. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, but people just gives up too easy, man. I mean, they've already told me if I have to have because I've had two shoulder surgeries on the right and two shoulder surgeries on the left, and the right ones give me issues right now, and they've already told me, they're like, we can't do. There's nothing else in there for us to repair. Right. We're going to have to give you a shoulder replacement. They've told me the same thing about my left knee. I've had multiple surgeries on that. We're going to have to give you a knee replacement. Same thing about my hip. We don't know if we can there's anything else in there to fix, and everybody keeps telling me, they're like, man, you've gotten to this rank, you've been in martial arts this long. What else have you got to prove? Why don't you just quit or just relax and quit teaching or something like that? And I said, I can't, that's not me.
Right. Yeah.
I can't sit on the couch. I can't be, I want to work out. I want to come to the dojo. I need to keep moving. Am I in pain, like you said? Yeah. I mean, wake up in the morning and take pain medicine. I take pain medicine halfway through the day, and I take pain medicine before I go to bed at night. And that's my routine 7 days a week, But the best that I feel is when I'm also working out during those times.
Yeah.
Like I had pneumonia 3 weeks ago, I guess, when I recovered. So I was down for a couple of weeks where I couldn't do anything. And that's a worst. Now, granted, I was sick, but that's the worst I've felt because I wasn't doing anything. I feel the best when I'm actually active, when I'm doing something.
Well, and I remember reading, this is 20, 25 years ago, some fitness books and these fitness specialists, and, some of them are better than others. But all of them seem to agree. And there's I don't know if you'd remember this, but his name is Mark Armstrong. He's retired lieutenant colonel, and we became friends after he got out because he became a professor of physical therapy at Hardin-Simmons University, where I went to get my graduate degree there at Logsdon Seminary, and they all confirm one of the biggest problems for people when they have injuries and they get older is they become stationary.
Yeah.
That motion begets motion. And I've always taken to that model. Now I'm a realist. I can't do the things I used to do. Exactly. And when I try those dumb things, I usually pay for it. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, but I temper it. So it's funny you said that. So like I got boarded for asthma in 2004. Luckily, there's a couple different ways you can get boarded. They did the base commander, the group commander, my commander, like, we love Ken. He wants to stay. So you go to the Randolph way, it's rubber stamp, you stay. If you go Wilford Hall, you got to go in front of a board. So it was to Randolph. The command was behind me, but I started having these weak lungs and asthma attacks and had some problems. And and I have no doubt. I mean, and well, the VA must have agreed because I got 10% of it. I just got that 2 months ago. Because, like I said, I waited till I retired to go for those things. But I have no doubt that was due to Mount Pinatubo. Just like smoking cigarettes, it comes later. You know, it doesn't. Right. You don't get asthma right away. You get it 10 years later after you.
Right.
I mean, that people don't realize that darn thing was blowing up, burping, as I used to call it, every other day. That was after the major eruptions that we got hit with. Yeah. And I'm breathing that in and I'm walking in that stuff as I'm walking the perimeter. I'm walking this ash that's 11 feet high off the ground. It's moved us up as so much. I have no doubt it came from that. So, but I was like you. I wanted to go out. And this is what I said I remember Major Soto and Colonel Weiser, and they loved me. They're like, you want to stay in, right? And I says, oh, yeah. I want to go out on my terms. I do not want to get medically boarded at 18, go out and be, quote unquote, medically retired, getting VA benefits. I want to get, I wanted to do 20 years. That was my goal. And then I wanted to go do something else. And I'm proud of that. That's my goal. And if I'm medically boarded and I'm 14 and I can't travel, I'd still like to travel around the world if I could, but if I can't, I can still be good here. And they backed me up. So I'm like you, my term, I did not want to be out on some, that may be good. Some people need that. I get it. I did.
Right.
And that's and that's what I did. No, and I would still do the fitness exams. I'd do the push-ups with the guys. I'd run. I'm not a great runner. You know how much I hate running. But to me, now because I was 14, they couldn't rate me on the fitness. You get a pass on that. You know, all you gotta do is meet the weight standards and you're good. But to me, that wasn't good enough. No, I'm in charge of the schoolhouse here. I'm this. You know, I'm the chief there of of the department. I'm gonna do push-ups with these young guys. I'm going to go jog with these young guys. I'm going to do the sit-ups, you know, and since I'm a horrible runner, but I made sure I passed, you know, and I'd make it up in push-ups. Boy, I was killing it in the push-ups. Yeah, brother. I mean, we're just cut. It doesn't mean I'm not going to recuperate, but I'm not giving up. Yeah. And I wanted to say I retired from the United States Air Force. I loved it. I wanted to say that. I didn't want to give that caveat. I medically retired or whatever. You know, no, I retired from the United States Air Force.
Yeah, that's how I feel. That's how I feel about it too. Before I had pneumonia, I had to go. I went to the doctor because I was having issues. Felt like I was having issues trying to breathe, trying to get a deep breath and stuff like that. So I went to my doctor, and he's like, "Well, we'll have to do it." I think they called it PFT, pulmonary something test, where they make you, check, see how healthy your lungs are. And then they done some x-rays and stuff like that. And they done one, and then they made me exercise for a little bit. And then they done another one, and then they done some x-rays. And I'll never forget. I mean, this just happened a few months ago. And the doctor pulls me back in the office and he says, "Are you a prior smoker?" Well, it's on my medical records. And I'm like, "No, I'm not a smoker. I don't smoke."
Never smoked.
And he says, "We think you have COPD." And I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, "You mean asthma?" And he said, "Well, when you get older, they call it COPD, not asthma. Old people can't get asthma. Older people gets what they call COPD." And he says, "And you don't smoke?" I said, "I don't smoke. I don't drink. I work out all the time and all this kind of stuff." And when you were sitting there talking about it, because I was trying to figure out how the heck am I developing this, unless it was like burn pits in Iraq, because everybody had burn pits, and you're all the time sniffing and smelling that stuff. And there were a few other things that went on over there that I was basically chalking it up to, but I forgot all about Pinatubo. It never even crossed my mind. I was over there from the day that Joker blew, that volcano blew, to the last American left the Philippines. Breathing in that stuff every single day, 24 hours a day.
Because even when it wasn't burping, because it had the two major eruptions that we got hit with, and one of them they had that tsunami, or not tsunami, the typhoon.
Yeah,
get it.
They called it wasn't it black
mud coming down. It seemed like,
yeah.
And
They
then
called
after
it Black
that,
Friday or Black Saturday. I thought Black Saturday, I think
right,
is what they called it.
yeah. And then it was burping like every other day with ash.
Oh
And
yeah,
it would only take it like 5 minutes and it's pouring on you.
yeah,
And unlike most other career fields, most of us cops, and I was a staff sergeant, you were a staff sergeant. Well, we're leading the airmen and we're walking the perimeters, and we're walking the housing, we're walking the elephant cage, we're walking all these areas, making sure intruders don't come in until we can move out. So most of the career fields, people don't understand. They didn't get anything from it, but that's because you're indoors. We were outdoors most of the time.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we're almost always outdoors, walking in that crap, and it's coming down. Yeah, and and to let them know that, you don't. It's just like a smoker. A smoker doesn't get lung cancer the day they started.
No.
Right. Yeah, you get it.
It takes time.
It takes time, and I really believe that's what gave me my asthma back in 2004 when I had my first asthma attack. My lungs had 79% lung capacity. They might have had that prior. I don't know, but I believe it's the asthma attack. Finally, the lungs are like, and now I'm at 77% lung capacity. But I don't let that stop me. I work out. I exercise. Most of the time I can go longer than most people my age. And when I was younger, I didn't let that stuff stop me, but by golly, we were in that. I want to cuss to call it what it really is, but I won't. But we were in that crap all the time. And we were only like 14 miles from the dang volcano.
Yeah. I didn't work law enforcement like you did. I worked investigations when we were over there.
Yeah.
But I was still out in that crap. I mean, when the military left the base and went up to whatever that college is, a few miles from the base, and then they sent a recovery team back in to take the base back over because they thought they had intruders all over the place. I was part of the recovery team that went back in there. But still, the friggin' college that we all evacuated in got hit worse than the base.
The base, the first one that I was at Subic Bay, and the typhoon took it to Subic Bay and poured on us. Yeah. They sent some of us there because of the influx of the dependents going there. So they sent some of us there to help the Marines and the Navy policing the area. And we got to, and then we go back and we get the second big one where we're there. And then all of a sudden it's burping every day. And we're breathing that stuff in. Yeah. And I was LE on flight, but we were breathing that crap all the time. And if you worked finance or billing, by the way, I'm not trying to degrade what they did.
No.
But they were indoors. They were indoors. Right. The only time they got outside is to go from, the office to their dorm room. Office to the dorm room. That was it. Or to go get lunch. There's time, I foot patrolled that for 12 hours on a shift every night. It's crap.
Well, and I see, because I'm members on Facebook with a lot of people. It's like, I don't need, Ash Warriors, I think is one of them that I'm a member of, and all this stuff. And people was talking about, them dying and how bad a shape they're in. And I don't doubt it. But at the same time, I think a lot of it is because when people retire out of the military, whether you were in the Philippines during that time or whether you're in some kind of combat situation, when they retire from the military, they don't do anything else anymore.
Right. Yeah.
We've had martial arts and that internal drive to keep us moving and stuff. And if you want longevity in the martial arts, which is what this is about, you've got to keep moving. I mean, you can't let pain and little setbacks make you stop anything. You've got to keep digging, man, day after day, one day at a time, one step at a time, and get out there. Can I kick or can I punch, fight, do kata, weapons, anything else as good as I could 20 years ago? No. But you know what? I can still do it pretty dang good.
Right.
I can do it good enough to take probably 3/4 or 4/5 of the people that's walking the street today.
Right.
Because I keep moving all the time. Do I hurt? Yeah, I hurt.
Yeah.
But I don't sit on the couch, eating a bag of Doritos and drinking Coke and getting fat.
Okay, now leave my Coca-Cola alone. I'm just joking. But no,
I drink that you and sit on the couch.
But
Now,
no, but
you know what I'm saying.
right. You hit the
You
nail
know,
on
I
the
don't
head.
sit around drinking beer or something and
Right.
getting a big pot belly. I work out. I keep moving, man.
Right. No, brother, you hit the nail on the head. And because this is how I looked at it. So when I retired and I was like, everybody's saying go, and I was like, no, and I was accused of pride. It wasn't pride. It was really principled on two things. I didn't think the taxpayers should pay me when I can make a good living. That's just me.
Right.
I don't judge anybody else who did it. That's how I looked at it. I can still make a good living. When I retire is when my VA benefits, in my view, should kick in. That was just me. And some people have to retire at that age. They just got so messed up. I could still go. And then the other one was also principles that I'm not quitting. If I stop now and I start collecting money where I don't have to go work, then I'm gonna quit. Wait until my body says you can't just do anymore, and I should now and try to enjoy those other things in life. And I didn't want to quit. I just don't understand that mindset. I know I can't do what I did when I was 30. I'm a realist, but that doesn't have to mean I have to give up. And this is you brought up something else really good, Soke. The idea that, I'm in pain, but you know what? I've been in worse pain is when I've had surgeries and I'm immobile for 4 or 6 weeks.
Thank you.
And then I got to start all over. That is the worst pain on my back that I've endured. That's the worst pain on my legs and knees and hip because I got arthritis in my hip, happened from the military. And I think that's related from the knee to the hip. And, because I walk unless I concentrate on walking normally, which I try to do, I start walking after like a mile with a little bit of a gimp now. Not because it's shorter, but because of the knee and the hip. But I'm like, no, I'm in worse shape when I don't do anything, when I'm immobile.
Right. Yeah.
That hurts.
I feel a heck of a lot worse if I take 3 or 4 days or a week or whatever off and not do anything than I do if I have some kind of, even if it's nothing but stretch and have some kind of a workout every single day. I feel much better doing that than I am I'm going to take a weekend off or I'm going to take a week off. No, because it's hard to get started back.
It is, yeah. And I can take a weekend and I will do other things. But Monday through Friday, well, actually, I stretch even on the weekends. But Monday through Friday, I at least get a karate workout in twice a week and then a calisthenics / a weightlifting workout in. Now, because of all the injuries, it's low weight and high reps.
Yeah.
I don't try to do a lot of weight anymore. No. But I hurt so much worse. And when I go on, and I love my vacations, don't get me wrong, but even when I go on vacation, I stretch twice a day. Especially if I ride the motorcycle, I stretch even longer. And the people who just give up entirely because of their injuries, and you see them, we've met them both, and they're in worse shape because they gave up trying.
Yep.
And they hurt.
You know how many people, and you've probably seen, as a matter of fact, you've probably ran into the same thing. I have run into so many people that will maybe like bring sign their kid up to karate or something like that, or will stop and talk to me about it because I'm wearing some kind of karate shirt or whatever. And they'll be like, well, I just wish I could do that. And I'm like, well, why don't you? Oh, I'm 30 whatever years old, or I'm 40 whatever years old, or I'm 50 whatever years old. Are you kidding me? I'm in my 60s, in my early 60s, but I'm in my 60s and I still do it. You can do it if you want to do it bad enough.
Right.
You're taking an age, you're taking a number and using that to help you make an excuse as to why you can't or why you don't want to do anything, because you certainly can. You just don't want to bad enough. Right. Well, guess what? I want to.
Right. Yeah. And, and we've both seen it because, more, celebrity martial artists than I do. You and Dan both, actually. But I've known a few, and I've met a few. And there's something that we both probably have seen, I'm sure. I don't know if we've ever talked about it. And I'm not going to say any names on the bad list. But there are a lot of famous martial artists from the 70s and 80s who they got just a teaching where they didn't do anything else anymore. And they are 320 pounds. They were once maybe good kickers. They can't kick anymore. They can't do anything. And they almost seem satisfied.
Oh, yeah.
With that. And then you see someone like, a Chuck Norris, unfortunately he passed, or a Bill Wallace, who are as old as they are, and they're still going strong
and still moving good
and moving. So, yeah, and so I look at it like Bill Wallace, and I'm like, well, when I'm 80, that's what I want to be doing now.
Right.
I maybe won't be as good as he is at it, but that's what I'm striving for. I want to be able to do those things and keep going those activities. Sure. Can I do what I did at 30? No, I can't now, and I won't be. And when I'm 80, I won't be able to do what I do at 61.
Right.
But it doesn't mean I'm going to give up and not do anything. And
giving up is for the weak.
It's right. And your quality of life sucks. I mean, these people can't go on I mean, I've seen them when they go to some of these events and they go on tours or stuff, and they got to stop every 2 blocks to rub their knee or this is hurting. Yeah, it's hurting on me too. But you know what? I stretched really good this morning. I'm gonna stretch really good tonight.
Right.
And I can do that because my belly's not in the way.
Yeah.
And I'm not skinny anymore either, by the way. But stay in motion. And the martial arts, and I'm so thankful I've had the martial arts. I'm so thankful I've had instructors like you, because it's kept me to keep going and not give up and enjoy that quality of life. I firmly believe if I didn't do the martial arts, I wouldn't be able to ride motorcycles.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
With all the injuries I've sustained, I wouldn't. It would hurt too much, I'm
a firm believer that if I had not stayed with martial arts for as long as I've stayed with it, basically since a child, had I not stayed with it, that years ago, and I'm not talking, like 7, 8, 9 years ago, I'm talking about years ago, I would probably either 1, be dead, or 2, sit on a couch and be someone that someone else is talking about because they can't get up and move.
You can't get up and move.
Martial arts has kept me active. It's kept me moving and kept me active and stuff.
Yeah. And and I get, not often, but I get asked questions about, boy, you're well, in 50s the last time I got when I had my dojo in Texas, but people ask questions, boy, you kick, it sounds like a shotgun going off and you're 58 or 57. And I tell them it's because I keep doing it.
Right.
It's not,
yeah.
And that's the thing. You just keep doing it. And I can't do it like I used to. But, if you want longevity in the martial arts, I think some of the things you do is you have to stretch a little bit more. You also have to let your body heal. You got to know when to take your pride out the door and say, okay, I've got to take a little extra time to let it heal more. And
got to eat better, got to hydrate better.
Got to hydrate better, got to eat. And hydration is so key as I've gotten older. It's so key in keeping everything going. And you got to schedule things apart a little bit better and take time to smell the roses, as they say. But if you do that and you set your expectations to where they should be, don't think you're Bill Wallace back at the age of 30, but also don't think you're Jabba the Hutt, where you're just going to sit on the couch all the time. You find that proper ground, and you can keep going well in your 60s and 70s. And I live this way. I hope I live a long life. I love to see my grandkids get older, and there's lots of life I still want to do. So I hope I make it to my 80s. I do. But I also tell people this: I'd rather have a good quality of life and make it to 72 than to have a crappy life sitting on the couch and make it to 74.
Or bedridden.
Yeah. But, but my body just slowly died, but I'll make it to 75, but I'm bedridden from 61 to 75.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to die young. Don't get me wrong, but I'd rather be active and do the things I love to do, even if that means I have to mitigate it and modify it a little bit.
Right.
But I can do that, And then the other
life
thing
is what you make of it, brother.
Right. And then the one thing sorry, go ahead, Soke.
No, I was just saying, life is what you make of it.
Yeah.
Either you can get out and live life and enjoy things and stay active and stay young so you can do things, or you can sit on your butt, and not do anything. And then later in life, and I know you've seen this, I've seen it in 30 and 40-year-olds.
Right.
Because they don't take care of themselves and they don't stay active. And now they're in their 30s and 40s or 50s, 60s, whatever the case may be. And they can't do anything because They haven't done anything for years except get fat,
Right.
get
Yeah.
fat and out of shape.
Fat and out of shape. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then they wonder, they act like something, well, boy,
Yeah.
what's wrong? Well, what's wrong was you're not moving.
Yeah.
That's what's wrong.
I've had so many people that's come in my dojo and took martial arts from me, and they'll be like, Soke, you wouldn't believe how much weight I've lost in the 6 months I've been here or in the year that I've been here. And they look good,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And if you're that overweight, seriously, if you're that far out of shape and that overweight, when you step in dojo, we don't expect you to step in here with the same physical capabilities as somebody that's been in here for 2 or 3 or 4 years.
Right.
We expect for you to start out slow, but
Right.
at least start. At
Right.
least do something.
Yeah. And I think it bothers me more when I see martial artists, especially black belts, who get into their 50s and 60s and 70s, who've gotten fat, dumb, and happy.
Oh, yeah.
Because, a lot of other people maybe didn't have the opportunities or the resources. I try to give them the benefit of the doubt. But when you see, and we've ran into it, when I see black belts and they don't really even and you get to know them, they haven't had really serious, they've had the minor injuries all martial artists get.
Yeah.
But they haven't had any really serious injuries. They just got lazy. And, and then I see that, I say, well, wait a minute, you know what to do.
Right.
Sure. Now I could probably be 20 pounds lighter. I fluctuate around 200 right now, 205, which is better than where I was when I came up for my promotion. I was like 220. So I'm trying to work on getting back down where I used to be just 3 years ago, 4 years ago. But I know what to do that. And so I can work on that. I can't drop it like I used to, but I can still work on that. But I see these guys and they don't do it at all. And then they talk about the glory days, but you're like, well, the glory days are also now. And I mean, really, sure, I had my glory days, when you and I kicked box, or when I went in this competition, or I'm teaching the cops how to do this, or and I was in 3 fights in the military and then 1 outside the military working in security detail. When I was a professor, I was also doing a second job working at Dillard's. You remember that? And and thankfully I did the martial arts because I prevailed each time, and that was important. But you know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
You've had these opportunities. Do it. The one thing I want to say, because you brought up something that clicked in my head. The one thing about longevity in the martial arts is, while I am not as fast as I used to be, my mind thinks I am, but I know I'm not. I'm not as fast or as quick. My power is not is still good, but it's not where it used to be, right? I mean, all those things start to go down a little bit, but nothing takes the place of experience.
Well, you got that right, brother.
I am so much more sneaky when I go and I do those seminars and I spar the youngsters. Much more sneaky than I used to be.
Used to, I was just right up in your face. Try to do this, or I'll tell you what I'm going to do, and you try to stop it.
Stop it, yeah.
Yeah. Now I don't say that. If I'm doing something, or even if I'm in class, I work smarter and not harder now.
Yeah.
I'll set your butt up. I'll get you to fall for something that, like you said, and I'm going to be sneaky and I'm going to get you to fall for something, and I'm coming around the other way on you.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's really funny. Sometimes they see our age, and you'll get somebody in a seminar in a class and they try to go for it,
Oh, yeah.
They're filling their oats. They're getting pretty good. And they go for it. And then it's like, okay, I haven't taught you this one. And then it's back.
Yeah.
So, that's one thing longevity does for you too, is you don't just can stay in motion, but you get a little sneakier and wiser, and how to do things a little bit different, and so that's kind of fun when I've been able to employ those tactics. I don't know how long that will work either, but it's fun to do it.
Yep. Hey, longevity is all in the mind. The body will do, and I learned this a long time ago, and I basically really learned it, I guess, when I was going through Ranger School, is the body will do whatever the mind convinces it that it can do.
Yeah.
You first got to have it up here. You got to believe up here, I can do this, and the mind can do what the body tells it to. I don't know. Did I say body do what the mind said? I meant the body will do what the mind tells it to, not the mind will do what the body tells it to.
Yeah.
But if you can convince yourself in your mind, if you tell yourself, you have a good positive attitude and you tell yourself, I can do this, that you would be amazed at things that you can do as long as you believe in yourself.
Right.
Positive attitudes, positive beliefs, you know,
Right.
because there's so many people out there that's so negative, like, oh, I can't do that. I'll never be able to do that. Blah, blah, blah. No, you can't do that, you know, because you've already convinced yourself that you can't do that.
You
But
already
there's one,
quit.
yeah, exactly. There's one word that you will not use in my dojo is can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I've seen a couple of people say that in your dojo before over the years when I've came up, and it's not a good word to say in your dojo.
No. You might use won't. I won't do that.
Right.
You know, but you're not going to say I can't do that, because you certainly can if you want to bad enough.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. You can. You may have to put a little more effort into it.
Right.
I look at that like when it comes to kata. I'm not the best kata performer in the world, so I have to practice more. That more practice. You know,
Right.
I'm not going to say I can't do it. More practice.
Right.
Yeah, that's what it means.
So, yeah, key to longevity is positive attitude, and keep moving.
Keep moving. Right. Yeah. I think that is so important for people because they just want to give up. And I've seen so many, both military people after they retire, and usually it's enlisted guys that do that, not officers who've retired. The enlisted guys seem to want to give up. Most of them don't, but many of them I've encountered that do. And then martial artists who they're happy just walking around with the black belt on, but they got their gut hanging at their ankle.
Yeah. Like getting a black belt's the end of your journey. Man, that's only the beginning of your journey.
Exactly. Exactly.
Once you get that first black belt, that's just the beginning of your journey. You're just now starting to understand really what martial arts is all about once you get that black belt.
Right.
The colored belts, all these Q grades, the color belts, those are just preparations for you to come up to a place where you can now see what your journey is all about and where you need to go with it.
Yeah.
When you get your black belt.
Yep. Exactly. It's just preparing you. It's preparatory stuff to prepare you to enter into the journey with the rest of us. Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yeah. Well, thanks, brother. I think that's a great topic, longevity. That sounds better than old person.
Yeah. Any day of the week.
And
longevity is a lot better than getting old or saying old. I'm not going to say I'm old, but I have got longevity in the martial arts.
Longevity in martial arts, yeah. Yeah. And you do. Like I said, 57 years for you. I will be at 50 years in next year, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next year will be 50 years for me.
Another reason to throw a party. Woo, 50 years in martial arts. Throw a party.
Yeah, next year. So, yeah, man, I tell you, that's amazing. I think about it. Whew. Yeah. I remember when I had been in like 13 years.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, that's a long time, you know. And I'm at almost 50. I'm at 49 years, almost 50 years. Wow.
I can remember at my 5-year mark, I can remember my 3rd, 4th, and 5th year mark easy. Now, there were a few years there. It was kind of like a blur and stuff, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I had this blur from 1989 to 1991.
Don't even start
feet in my head.
Don't even start your shit.
It's like, I don't know what happened for sure. A volcano blew up. I got punched around.
Yeah. That's when I had a blur too. I just remember a few key parts about it.
I remember getting my butt off the ground. Like, what happened? How did I end up here?
Yeah. What the heck?
And then someone telling me to get up. I'm like, no, I got up. That's how I ended up down here.
Yeah. Who hit me in the side of the head with a baseball bat?
Someone call the cops.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to say this part, brother, let our viewers know that you're actually coming to help me with a couple people who are going for black belts. And so we will be doing a show of us together in person, not on Zoom. So
that's in like 2 weeks.
About 2 weeks. I imagine I imagine it'll be about 3 weeks by the time we actually get it out. But hey, please, to our small but growing audience, I think we're at 20 subscribers now. We were at 18 last week, so we're growing. Hey, you know, I hope you watch that when we're together. We always have a great time, and we're going to have some great discussions. We already got that plan, what we're going to discuss. So we will have some.
And we'll tell you how the black belt test went.
Yep. It'll be Soke and I. And then we will also have the people who are going for their black belt in Kilo Kemeru. They will also have agreed to be on the podcast so we can interview them one at a time. So you'll get to
They
meet.
may not look as good as Ken and I will, but
How could they?
well, I'm saying they may have some bumps and bruises.
Yeah, I know what you are. But even if they didn't, I mean, brother, it's us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
we're the epitome of masculinity.
Yeah, we sure are.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you? Maybe I'll edit this out. Nah, heck, I'll put it in here. When I was at my last job about the pronoun usage that they were going on in there and asking about, and I had someone ask me my pronoun.
Oh
usage.
yeah. You mentioned that in the podcast, and we were talking about pronouns.
Pronouns, yeah. And so, yeah.
That you get to pick yours.
Yeah. If you get to pick your pronoun, I'm picking my adjective: handsome and masculine.
Yeah, there you go. Yep. You pick yours. I'll pick mine.
I'll pick mine. Yeah. Oh well, brother, it was a great topic. People stay active.
Yes.
Even if you're not in the martial arts, you're just someone who's listening. Stay active in it.
If nothing else, get out and walk every day.
Right. Get out and
somewhere.
Walk somewhere. Yep. Your body in motion is less painful, even if it's painful, than if your body is still. Believe me.
That's right.
It's less painful, and you'll be better off for it, and you'll have a better quality of life. Hopefully, you'll have a better quantity of life too, but for sure, you'll have a better quality of life. Absolutely. So please be active. And I also want to say one more thing for the crowd knows you're at your dojo in Sparta today.
Yeah, I'm at our dojo, our Humbo dojo.
Awesome.
Here in Sparta, North Carolina.
Yeah. So if any of you are ever in North Carolina around the Sparta area, stop in and find Soke Briggs and have a chat. He'd love to chat with you and visit.
122 North Main Street in Sparta.
Yep.
We're in the backside of Glade Creek Animal Hospital.
That's right. And it's a great dojo. It's got a great feel to it. I love it. I'm glad you have that. So please stop by if you're ever in that area and send him, and you can send him an email on his website.
Yeah.
To let him know you're coming. So please do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, brother.
Well, we'll be seeing you soon. Till next time. Us. God bless you, brother.
Same to you.